Hello, hello, hello. Okay, yep, that's working. Just a second, everyone. Okay, give me just a sec. I'll just... Okay, we should be good to go. Okay, so... what was it? Classes, excellent. Okay, so, hello, everybody. Okay. So, hello. Hey there, hello there. As welcome as can be. So, we are going to do a couple of things in precise order. I will quickly mention the important thing to start with. Then we will do an overview of the Arcanist, which, if you want to have a read through of your own, it is on our Ko-Fi. It is on our Ko-Fi, which is appropriate. No, that's the wrong thing. That's the wrong one. There we go. It is on our Ko-Fi. Yeah, the donation link won't work anymore. The Ko-Fi also has the other important bit, which is we are raising some money. You can also see there's a Ko-Fi goal just below the Ko-Fi link on screen. The reason for that is we are raising money so that we can go to FanFest this year. FanFest, which is a big FF14 event. For those who don't know, we have streamed a lot of FF14. We really like FF14. We would like to do more FF14 content. So one of the things we'd like to do is to be able to go to FanFest. So we are raising money. While we are raising money, because we want to be sure that, you know, if people are giving us money, we are giving something back. There are stream incentives. So £1 is a shout out, £5 for a minute over on Thulu, £8 to ask a question, £10 to pick a task, £20 for a piece of games design of your choice, £25 to do some world building, £50 for a stream dedicated purely to you, and £75 for a game design dedicated purely to you. So that is the thing we are doing, is the thing we'll be pushing, and those incentives will be active until we have raised the money to go to FanFest. It is not the full amount, we have most of the amount, we just need a bit more to put us over the mark. So, however, you do not have to pay to be able to access the Arcanist class or the ancestries and templates. Those bits are totally free on the Ko-Fi to access. So, with that out of the way, let us jump to talking about the games design. So, games design, it's cool. And we've made an Arcanist class. So, you get your fluff. There are some background elements, what my hope is for every class will have a few of these. Maybe not necessarily 5, but roughly that many questions, which give some random elements to kind of give you some ideas. So, for example, for Arcanist, it's where did you study? Why are you learning magic? Who was your mentor? Have you picked any usual habits in your time? What's your spell book look like? And then you have your class template, which works the same as normal Arcanist, but as you can see, there are a lot of features throughout. Some unique bits are cantrips prepared. So let's get into why these kind of things are as they are. So let me just okay. So you're a D6. You get clubs and maces added to the weapons over what a normal wizard gets. You get 3 of the chosen skills, so we have quite a wide range of skills for you to pick between. You get, upon taking the class, because kind of the assumption is when you gain a class that you will have met someone who will at least start you on your path, you get a component counter, an arcane focus, and a spellbook. Every class has tags, which is usually the class name, whether it is a spellcaster or a martial class, and then for spellcasters the kind of magic that they do. They get a unique mark of fate, which for Arcanist is Fateful Preparation, so you could spend a mark of fate to pick a spell you've prepared but not cast, and swap it for another spell to counter your prepared spell for the day. You get Inspired Action, which for Arcanist is Inspired Casting. So this is you can use Inspired Action to cast any spell in your spell book with a casting time of action points. So effectively, for the 1 AP of an Inspired Action, you can cast any spell with an AP cost. Spell casting is a bit laid out, but it makes it a bit easier to quickly reference. So yes, they can ritual cast. Yes, they use an arcane focus. Yes, knowledge is their chosen skill. Arcanists are different. They are the only class that prepares their cantrips, so they know all the cantrips. They get to prepare a certain amount as they go. They have their spellbook, which has a few key differences. You can copy an Arcanist spell into the book, but you can also copy a spell of any other class list into a spell book. If you have a scroll, it takes double the amount of time and double the cost. Actually, I think it's a bit more than double the cost. I think it's 3 times the cost. And the key thing is, if you lose your spell book, you can replace Arcanist spells that you have gotten from your prepared spell list, but you don't get to replace spells from other classes' spell lists. So basically, it's if you lose or if your spellbook is destroyed and you have a lot of spells from other classes' spell list, you will have to start again. So at first level, you get specialized studies. So it's a dual feature, so you get to pick one of the 2 features. The first and easiest one to explain is Universal Spellcaster. This is you do not pick a special school. Arcanist spells are cheaper and easier to put into your spell book. You get 1 first level spell from the Arcanist spell list, and you effectively get Arcane Recovery as a feature. If, however, you want to dedicate yourself to a specific spell school, it's slightly different. So you pick one of the spell schools listed, you get the spell. You can copy spells of the chosen school for cheaper and less time. You get a first circle spell of the chosen spell school, so it doesn't have to be from the Arcanist spell list, just of the school. And you get a special effect. So, Abjuration is your spells are counted as one circle higher for dispelling and countering. If you cast Abjuration spells, you double that bonus. Conjuration is you get to teleport additional entities, or your summoning gets to summon an additional creature. The School of Dictation is what used to be the School of Enchantment, and Dictation is basically if you make a diplomacy, deception, intimidation, or stealth roll against an individual that you have already, that is currently affected by your dictation spell, you have advantage because effectively your magic gets to make it that they're harder to see you, they're harder to resist your words. Divination is your divination spells that have a percentage chance of getting an accurate answer have that percentage reduced. Evocation is your evocation spells. If they would make you do a trait test for an effect or nothing on a failed if they do damage on a failed trait test but they do nothing on a successful, they instead will deal half damage on a successful. Illusion is if an illusion spell would make an auditory or a visual effect but not both, you can choose for the spell to produce both effects. If illusion spell produces both sensory effects, then you can add a sense of smell to the illusion just to make it, and then the GG can determine whether or not that effect would make it harder to see through the illusion, at which point your illusion gets a bonus to its TG. Necromancy is if you kill an opponent using a spell, you regain H. You can choose an entity summoned or animated through a necromancy spell and give that entity some hit points back. If the kill was made with a necromancy spell, then you get to double the bonus. Then there's a final note of you can choose to, instead of healing something that you summoned, you instead can heal yourself, but you heal half the amount of HP. School of Protection is if you get temporary, when you cast a protection spell, you get temporary hit points. If the spell already gave you temporary hit points, then you just get a buff to the temporary hit points given. But it means if you cast a protection spell that didn't give temporary hit points, you get effectively an extra shield on top. Restoration spells is when casting a restoration spell, you give the target your skill bonus amount of HP back, even in addition to what other effects the spell may have. So if it's a healing spell, you get to heal more. If it's not a healing spell, you still get to heal a little bit. And then transmutation is your transmutation spells affect a larger volume and last longer. So that's level 1. It's little effects. It's little effects that kind of give a buff and basically make you go, yeah, I want to be dedicated to this spell school. Signature foci. So this is when you gain this, you get to pick between your spellbook, crystal orb, rod, staff, wand, school-specific item, or magic weapon. A bunch of these you may notice are arcane foci. Effectively, you get a bonus for using that specific arcane foci, and some of those items that aren't arcane foci become arcane foci. So your spellbook will become an arcane focus, and you get to prepare an extra spell for each circle of Arcanist spell you're able to cast. If you cast a cantrip while holding its spellbook, you can replace its damage type with force. Crystal is, because it's already an arcane focus, it doesn't get that effect, but you can perform somatic components while holding a crystal in your hand. When you complete a long rest, you can store a spell from your spellbook into the crystal. It counts as a prepared spell, and you get one free cast a day. If you choose the orb, because it's already an arcane focus, what you get is, while holding onto the orb for each of your turns, you can pick an individual who's currently under the effect of a spell that can end its effect early on a successful saving throw. Until the end of your next turn, the chosen target has disadvantage on saving throws to end your spells early. If you choose a rod, you have a +1 bonus to your hit target, and as a reaction, you can spend your reaction to get a +5 bonus to your hit target, which is like AC, until the start of your next turn. Once this reaction's been used, you lose the HT bonus until the turn after. So it's basically you use your action to make sure that attack doesn't hit. On your next turn, that bonus to your hit target ends, and then you have to wait a whole other to your turn after that to be able to get any bonus to your hit target. Rod and staff can be used as melee weapons, which will be covered in their equipment sections. So if you use the rod as a melee weapon, it's a club, unless it's been so its attacks are considered magical, and if it's been modified to be considered a mace, which is an option that rods have, they are considered silvered and magical attacks. The staff is basically, when you're using it as a quarterstaff to make an attack roll, you can use your spell attack roll instead of the weapon's normal attack roll, and no matter which option is chosen, the weapon is considered silvered magical, and you can cast touch spells through the staff, being able to choose to use the weapon's attack roll rather than the melee spell attack roll to apply a touch spell. Wands get to be somatic components while holding onto the wand, and while casting a spell and holding onto your wand, you gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls, and the TG for your spells from your spellbook. School-specific item is basically each school kind of will probably have an item you would associate with it. This item gets to be an arcane focus. And when holding the item, casting a spell of your chosen school, you have advantage on attack rolls, and opponents targeted by the spells of that school have disadvantage on their trait tests to resist them. And then magic weapons, it's basically if you have attuned yourself to a magic weapon, you can use it as an arcane focus and apply touch spells through the weapon. You get your arcane tradition like a normal wizard, but you get it level 3, not level 2. That's the only one. It's one of the few, I think, where we're actually going to change the level that you get your subclass. Wizard, it made sense to do it at level 3 though, for a reason, because you already kind of got the first step of that at level 1. Then you get your feat. And feats give you +1 to a character trait and a feat. At 5th circle, you get rested body. So this is when you take a short rest, you can choose to use the activity to go through your spell book and exchange a prepared spell with another one from your spell book. How subclasses also work is so at the first level you get it, you pick a subclass. From then on, you can choose to either spend your subclass to increase the level of a current subclass or choose a new subclass. So, for example, you could choose to be a level... so say you were a level 6 Arcanist, you could either choose to get 2 levels of Transmutation Wizard, or you could go Transmutation and Restoration. The key thing is to try and give you as much towards your ideal character as possible. 7th level, your signature foci feature gets an upgrade, so you can pick 2 options from your signature foci instead of 1. You cannot pick the same option twice. If you have, so as long as you can have an item in one in each hand, you can gain the benefit of both at once, and you get to consider them a weapon group. So weapon group is something we're using, which is basically if you take certain features for, say, a paladin, we'd let you have shield and sword as a weapon group. If you're a dual weapon fighter, you count the 2 weapons as a weapon group. Basically, a weapon group is it only takes 1 use of the user item action to draw or sheath, rather than 2. So then 8th level again for feat. 9th level, you get skilled student. So at 9th level, you have advantage on trait tests to research spells, rituals, and rites. Including researching who made them, locations where they were known to have been practiced, aspects theoretically replicating the effect without the complete scroll containing the instructions, though if you try to reassemble a spell without a complete scroll, this could lead to alters effects or no effect. 10th level, you get another arcane tradition progress. 11th level, you get to use your rested study without requiring an activity. So basically you can just every short rest do other stuff and swap around spells. 12th level, you get a feat. 13th level is you get a 3rd option for your signature foci. Obviously you can't pick the same option twice still. Do not require AP to swap between one foci and another. So you can easily swap between the 3 of them. 14th level, you get your final arcane tradition. 15th level, you get school mastery. So if you chose a school at level 1, you get a 1st circle spell and a 2nd circle spell from that spell school. Otherwise, if you pick Universal Spellcaster, it's from the Arcanist spell list. Those 2 spells don't count against the number of spells you can prepare, and you can cast them at their base level without requiring a spell slot. If you want to upcast them, then you must use a spell slot as normal. Then 16th level you get a feat, 17th level you get expert ritualist, which is you have advantage on trait tests made during the performance of a rite or ritual. You can also use the aid action once per trait test made during the rite to assist another individual performing their part of the rite. 18th level is signature spell, so how it works is you can either make a new spell or modify a spell to be effectively your signature spell. To create a spell, you can work with the GG to design a spell. If you took spell school specialization, the spell must belong to your chosen school. It may require some iteration and testing to work out what the spell does. If instead you choose to modify a spell, the school must be from your spell school, or an Arcanist spell if you choose Universal Spellcaster, though the GG may let you have one of your modifications be change the spell school. There are some spell modifications we'll get to in a bit, which can either increase or decrease the circle of a spell. Your modifications can never make a spell higher than a 9th level spell. Yeah. And you can cast it once at its base circle without expending a spell slot. Once per short or long rest. If its spell circle is equal to or less than your skill bonus, you may cast it at its base circle without requiring a spell slot a number of times equal to your skill bonus. Then you get another feat, and 20th level you get Archmage. So the first part is unique to the Arcanist, the second half is what everyone gets. So what every class will get at level 20 is you become legendary in a single skill. Trait tests made using that skill, you get to roll an additional d20, choosing to replace the final d20 result on the trait test. So after advantage and disadvantage, with the value rolled on the separate d20. You can only be legendary in one skill at a time, and you also get to increase one trait score by 2 or 2 trait scores by 1. These can increase a trait up to a maximum value of 7, when normally it's 5. And then you, Arcanist uniquely gets, you gain a temp circle spell slot. This spell slot can only be recovered for a long rest. It can't be recovered by any other means. And can only be used for casting spells. It can't be used for anything weird like a smite effect. While initially you may be able to use the spell slots for an addition use of your high level spells or upcasting a larger damage or other effect. There may be legendary 10th circle spells hidden in the world, where if you can find them, you can prepare them, but you can only ever prepare one 10th circle spell a day, unless your knowledge trait is 6 or higher, at which point you can prepare 2. So it's basically playing. The hope is kind of like at high level is where you get to be, you get to be the almighty powerful wizard. So quickly, the signature spell modifications, you can give it an area effect, or you can change its area effect. You can change its range, change the speed it's cast at, whether or not it requires a component, change the condition dealt, give it a new condition, so if you're swapping, it's easier than giving a new condition. Changing the size of the damage and healing die, changing the damage type, non-lethal spell, or rebounding damage, which is effectively the damage die boost, but there's a consequence that it doesn't change the spell's level, but it can blow up in your face. And then we have the subclasses. So Abjuration School is about modifying magic. So you get to learn magical lore. You can basically modify spells. You can change the damage type, change its range. You can change the treat any other spell as an abjuration spell a set number of times a day, and you can inflict disadvantage on opponents' trait tests to resist your spells. At high levels, when you cast abjuration spells, you get to add your skill bonus to trait tests for casting a spell. Say if you're trying to counter or dispel a higher circle spell, incorporeal magic, you can ignore cover. And then embodiment of abjuration is you basically get spell resistance, and you can make spells phase through solid objects. Then you have School of Conjuration, which is you get some skill bonuses. You get to summon a fundamental ether form, which is a small companion who it's a small companion that will give you buffs later on. It effectively is a better find familiar. Second tier, you get to have bonus to your teleportation, and if you cast a summoning spell, you can put one of the things you summon into your ether form, changing it. Then at high levels, the things you summon have more AP and RP, and your teleportation effects are better. You get to swap places with other targets. Yeah, we put that at 2 AP, 1 RP. And then at top level, it's if you summon something. All your summoned creatures can cast touch spells through them using their reactions, and you can look through their senses. Oh no, you can cast spells from your ether form when you're looking through its senses. and you get a bonus to creating permanent effects. So the School of Dictation is the old enchantment school. This one is you get some bonuses to your social skills, and you can effectively command people as an action. You then get effectively Vampire's Gaze, and you can get bonuses to targeting more things with your dictation spells. And then your Masterful Manipulator is basically your dictate, can enforce oaths. And also, what was the final one? Oh yeah, it's hard for people to notice they're being charmed. Divination is you gain some knowledge of reading fate. You can modify certain rolls to make them better than they were before. So it's effectively you roll a d4 to determine the kind of die roll that you can affect, and then you would roll a d20, and whenever you do that thing, you can replace a die with that number. The exception is damage roll, which is just you get to re-roll the die rather than input a different value. Fate Manipulator is slight buff to Fate Reader, and you also can replace the night vision that you gained with the Scholar of Fate with the ability to see into the ethereal realm. Then Skill Diviner is your divination spells are more powerful. You basically can, when you cast divination spell, you get a spell slot of a smaller number. And you can replace your night vision now with the ability to read languages, any language. And then Fate Weaver is a modification to Fate Reader, where you basically get better results. You can automatically make things crit, you can automatically make things natural one, but there are consequences for doing that. And when you complete a rest, you can replace the night vision with True Sight. Evocation is very much like original Evocation. You get your spell sculpt. You can maximize the damage of cantrips. Oh, yeah, just skill bonus to cantrip damage. You can add your knowledge to a damage die of an evocation spell. And then Overchannel is just you get to increase the damage, but at the cost of exhaustion. Illusion is you get Disguise Self, and you get a better version of Disguise Self. You get Illusionary Defense, which is basically a mirror image. But of course, not being spells, it means they can't be counterspelled or messed with as easily. Skilled Mesmer is your illusion spells. Can be edited partway through their duration, and Illusionary Mastery is you can make things physical. Necromancer is a lot of you gaining traits of the undead while also buffing your necromancy spells. So you obviously get your skills. You then get resistance to necrotic damage, and when you kill an entity with a necromancy spell, you can immediately raise it as a zombie. Then we let you have your hit point maximum can't be reduced, and you can now your undead get more hit points, and you can summon a skeleton. Then you have Tested Necromancer, which is not undead with it's going all right. We're just quickly running through what I've done for Arcanist, so Wizard, because they are now completed. Yeah, so Undead Less Than Zero thinks you're one of them, and we give you some more buffs to your reanimations, abilities from before and your spells. Then Undead Mastery is you get some template features for free. You also can gain control of the undead, and you can summon more powerful undead with the feature from before. School of Protection is basically you get a ward. You can apply that ward to other people. Your protection spells get bonus to your hit target. Then you've got Restoration, which is healing spells, which is a bit difficult considering wizards don't get a lot of healing, but still. One thing I do need to do is I need to look at how crafting of healing potions will work, and then come back to see if I want to edit any of the restoration. But effectively, so a number of these already kind of had ideas. So because obviously it's based off D&D Wizards, so Abjuration, the main thing was just trying to reinforce the concept of you get to edit and change magic. Conjuration is you are the summoner, you are really good at summoning one or two things and buffing the hell out of it. Dictation was you are the mind control person, so it was kind of what mind control effects are there in the game. Let's replicate. Divination is messing with fate. Evocation is just damage goes up. Necromancy wanted to be less about one or two summons and more. No, we want to summon lots of things. Protection was going, how can we make Wizard an interesting protector? So current D&D is a bit weird. So D&D has less schools of magic. You have Abjuration, which kind of makes sense because Abjuration is what we call protection and Abjuration. In that kind of its entire thing is you negate other effects and you ward off. So for me, though, it made more sense to kind of have Abjuration be less. Yes, you can negate effects, but also you can modify spells. So any spell, because you could kind of also go there, oh, it's a transmutation, but no. I kind of want to distinguish if you're messing with the natural world, if you're messing with the way things are physically, that's transmutation. If you want to mess with the body, mess with the soul. If you want to mess with magic and this kind of fundamental aspect, that comes to abjuration. And then protection can focus on this is wards, this is things that give temporary hit points, this is things that block incoming damage. Healing is weird because healing is, depending on what edition of D&D you're looking at, healing is either evocation because it's manipulating energy from the positive energy plane, it's necromancy, or it's abjuration. I believe one D&D is using abjuration. I think 5th uses a combination of evocation and necromancy. So what I did was just go, it's restoration. Restoration is its own spell school. So instead of us constantly going, so where does healing go? It's just restoration. Healing is restoration. That's it. That's the conversation. And then what I can do is, it means we can focus more on, because I imagine certain spell lists will have certain spell schools. Yeah, healing healing has always been weird in D&D because it never really fit one thing, hence why they can never decide what school it goes into. So I just resolve that by going, okay, well, if healing doesn't fit any other spell school, it can be its own spell school. Which worked rather well because it meant I could really focus on what healing is, while then having other subclasses that get to do with fun things. So abjuration it's not just counterspell. It's counterspell. Yes, it's banishment, because banishment is really just the negation of a conjuration spell. And yes, it's dispel magic, but also if there was something that goes, if there was a spell that let you apply this spell to someone, and then that spell modifies any spell that person casts, making it stronger, weaker, whatever, it would go under abjuration. Basically, if there is a spell that interacts with other magic, it comes under abjuration. But yes, with protection, it kind of came down to the concept of, here is a wizard, we give them a shield, we give them wards. Let's see how we could play with that magically. And then you have restoration, where we actually went in the opposite direction, in that instead of us going, because Arcanist will generally follow the wizard spell list, meaning they won't really have access to healing magic unless they pick restoration as their special school, because then they'll get one of the first level healing spells. One of the things I wanted to do to make it not just a life cleric is have it kind of, you are, the way I imagine it is, you are the traditional healer. You are the kind of healer that goes to their spell book, goes over a cauldron, mixes together some magic but also herbs and other stuff to make your healing, which is why it's all about, obviously, because of the fact that you don't get a lot of healing, it is one of the few that gives you extra healing spells. So, but the other thing is, you have advantage on nature and medicine checks to identify flora and fauna to who have medicinal properties and identify injuries. You can, as an action, use a healer's kit to apply some additional effects. Why do we not just give that to, why is that part of the subclass? Well, because your magic lets you buff effectively a healing kit. You get to play with the short rest mechanic by giving more healing during a short rest if you make the meal for people, or you can heal someone of a harmful concept. You're not necessarily healing hit points. What you're doing is you're kind of you're providing alternative healing methods. You're not just doing healing spells. And then third level is where we let you actually modify healing spells. So your touch range spells now have a small range, 5 meters, which is, what's that? That would be, if we're in D&D in feet, that'd be 25 feet, which is a very short range spell. Yeah, it would work well with that. You have, when you cast a restoration spell or rite, they get your knowledge worth of hit points back. You and the target, which is interesting because then if you took the restoration thing, if you did say lesser restoration, the target would gain hit points equal to your skill bonus plus your knowledge, and you would gain hit points equal to your knowledge. So there is kind of this passive healing going on, because Life Cleric is very much, if I'm going to heal you, I heal you a lot. Whereas the Restoration Wizard is, if I heal you, you'll get healed a little. Well, if I heal you, you'll get healed a lot, but if I don't heal you but do other restorative effects, you'll still be healed a little. And if you cast a restoration spell where you get to pick between multiple options, say removing conditions, you get to add one more option. And then Master Healer is you just, yeah, you you find it quicker to do healing spells. So Master Healer gets to do a Cure Wounds for 1 AP instead of 2, which means they then still have 2 AP for other effects. And then Transmutation is basically me trying really hard not to go full Metal Alchemist and ending up going full Metal Alchemist. In that you have a mini Philosopher's Stone, and as you level up, you get more effects what to do with your Philosopher's Stone, until eventually you are just having not quite a Philosopher's Stone, but it is so close to being a Philosopher's Stone, it's like you're just there. Yeah, so that's that. And then we're going on to Battle Channel, which is the new one that we're working on. That is based off the Barbarian. So before we could do that, I'm just going to send a reminder that for those who do not follow our socials, you should totally follow our socials. But for those who don't follow our social media posts, we are currently trying to raise money because I really want to go, as you may or may not know, we do a lot of FF14 here on the channel, and I would really like to go to FanFest this year. But to go to FanFest is a whole thing, and we are trying to raise a bit of money for it. So you can see the golden thing, you can see the Ko-Fi link. Let me just post the Ko-Fi link. Ooh, let me just post the Ko-Fi link here. It is a bit. I have most of the money towards it. I just need a bit more to be actually able to afford it. But most importantly, if for the duration of the goal existing, basically, until we have raised the money to complete the goal, if you donate while the streams are happening, there will be a reward. So, if you put £1 in, we shout you out. If you put £5 in, you get 1 minute of Ron Thulu. If you get £8, it's ask a question, any question, and as long as it's not something like, what is my it's not national security number, national insurance number, I will answer it. If you say my national insurance, ask me for my national insurance number, I will tell you where to go. £10 you get to pick a task. So if we're doing a video game or something, you could tell me to do something completely different. If we're doing games design, you might go, hey, go design a different game. Or, hey, stop working on this and design something else. £20, you get to give me a prompt and I have to make some games design for it. £25 is Wall Molder. Basically, you get to give me a suggestion. I have to do some world building to fit it in. £50 is a stream in your honour, and £75 is a games design wholly dedicated to you and you alone. And then you get to pick if it gets published for the wider consumption of the world or not. So yeah, those are the different tiers. Those donation goals will continue until we hit the goal. The goal is actually £50, so if you put in £75 or £50, like, you're getting the big thing, but that's because basically you have covered the entire cost of going to FanFest. So that is that. That goal will be running for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, if you can donate, it is very helpful. And yes, I wanted to give some incentives because I believe in giving something back if people are very nice and giving me something. Right, now that bit is out of the way, back to talking about games design. So we're probably not going to go too much into this today. Mainly I just want to go through Arcanist. We'll probably be back online in a little bit though if we do stop, so that I can play some FF14. So as with Arcanist, this is all going to be background. We'll edit this. I'm not quite sure what the 5 questions are going to be yet. I have some ideas. So, I have largely copied over the Barbarian. So we will need to make a Mark of Fate. We will need to make Inspired Action. Its class tags will be Battle, Channel, and Martial. I've already sorted this bit out. So a few things I've been considering. Emotion channel will remain the same. I've been currently trying to work out whether or not I want to keep channel damage. So currently channel damage is +2 to +4. Part of me was wondering if we should just let channel damage be equal to your skill bonus. This does mean when we get down to like level 20, controls like that, it will be a +6, but at the same time you're level 20. Does a +6 really, does the +2 damage really break the game? So the key things from our design notes from before is you'll be channeling emotions. You won't just channel rage, you'll also channel other emotions. So currently, level 1, you will get to pick an emotion. The current thought process is, my current idea is battle channeler in lore perspective is battle channelers are first were taught their craft in the realm of dreams. Those who found they could easily navigate the realm of dreams and find the spirits that live there had them teach the art of battle channeling. And back then you could channel any emotion and it'd be part of the dream, but since the birth of Nightmare, half of the emotions are tied to dream and half the emotions are tied to Nightmare. So like rage, hate, envy, the more negative emotions in quotation marks are tied to Nightmare, while hope, joy, love, these are tied to the dream. Specialized defense will be a double choice, so basically it's I need to slightly modify these because currently you don't get heavy armor proficiency, but effectively what specialized defense is going to be is you could either go unarmored defense, so it works like unarmored defense, or armored defense, which is you get proficiency in heavy armor. You can channel your emotions while wearing heavy armor. It's basically you're going the one route is I don't want to wear any armor. The other route is I want to wear the most armor possible. There is no in between these two paths. What I'll probably do though with armored defense is make it that you don't get the benefit of shields when raging. With armored defense. We're probably also going to give. I'm also tempted to give them access to a fighting style. They'll get access to the fighting style feats anyway because they're a martial class, but I'm tempted to give them access to fighting styles because the preset fighting styles can really give a definition of what we want the barbarian's combat style to be, which is largely great weapons, dual weapons, that kind of thing. Reckless attack, if we keep reckless attack, what we would probably do is make it another, depending on what emotion you picked, or depending on whether you pick nightmare or dream, you get like 2 different effects. I'm not 100% sure about reckless attack. Danger sense will probably get an overhaul. Channeler's path is going to be very much the same way as Arcanist, so what you can choose to do is you'll get, at 3rd level, you'll get your first subclass, and then from there you can either become a 1st level in a different subclass, or upgrade the one you're currently doing. Extra attack will keep. Fast movement we will probably keep. Not quite sure. Expanded Channeler's Path, Feral Instinct. I think somewhere around here we're going to want to bring in the ability. Maybe I'm going to have to potentially rejig some of this, but my current thought is there's one class feature I want to put in, because for those who can't tell, partially this is being based off the Dark Knight class from FF14, is Dark Knight gets a really cool effect where they get to summon effectively a physical manifestation of their emotions. So I really want to have it where partway through you get a physical manifestation of your emotion who fights alongside you. Feral Instinct is pretty cool. I quite like to keep that. Brutal Critical. Just weapon down to 10 extra damage for critical hit. Yeah, we could keep that. What we might do is potentially move Brutal Critical into the Inspired event. And what we might do is we might try and do something with Brutal Critical where we kind of take it out, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. Relentless Rage, you keep fighting despite wounds if you drop to 0 hit points. Okay. Yeah, there's Brutal Critical upgrade. Persistent Rage. Brutal Critical upgrade, Indomitable Might. Then Primal Champion. Primal Champion will definitely be getting a change because it kind of... the standard fare for most classes is that they will get a +2 or 2 +1s as a point bonus. I mean, you could still let it, but I think we could come up with something more interesting. Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of these. So things I would like to try and add is some more utility abilities. Give some kind of pull back the combat stuff a little bit. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure how we want to do this yet. There's definitely going to be some changes because obviously your emotions are going to play a big part. Currently, there will be 3 subclasses we'll start with. Obviously, they can use whatever barbarian subclass because effectively just replace rage with channel emotion. Like, you could totally be a totem battle channeler. I think the 3 I currently want to do, speaking back to that lore bit at the beginning, is I want to do a subclass that's based around you are channeling one of the light emotions, and you are super into the light, doing one where it's you channel nightmare based emotions and you are super into the nightmare, and then one where you get to be duality. And what it would let you do is that subclass would be entirely about getting one dream and one negative emotion. So it effectively lets you double dip emotions. And that would be a fun one. And then obviously all the custom made barbarian subclasses that people have made can apply to Battle Channeler. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. But I definitely want to improve the balance between combat and non-combat. Probably have some more stuff that applies effects based on the emotion you picked. A few small changes. One of the big changes is I'm currently running on the line. I don't think you'll be allowed to concentrate no matter which emotion you're channeling, but we might allow it to where certain emotions will still let you spellcast. It's just not every emotion will. You just won't be able to necessarily do to be honest, it won't be too bad. I just need to think about how I want to do it in my head. I think the main thing we'll have to do first is, well, I'll probably do first actually is if um, what I'll probably do first, because we'll be finishing in a bit, or, well, you won't finish. What we'll do is we'll pivot into FF14, just play some games and chill out for a little bit. But my current thought for how I'll probably start it is I'll start with the lore section. I'll write some background on Battle Chandler just to kind of cement that in my head. Try and come up with some fun backgroundy tables to kind of give you some character juices flowing. And then I'll start on the emotions, because once you've got the emotions in place, uh, uh, everything else kind of makes sense, because it will still look like a barbarian's rage. It will still look like when you are raging, because most of the effect will work exactly like rage. It's just the bullet point section, those specific benefits for rage, will vary depending on the emotion that you pick. And your emotion will just also give you the keyword dream or nightmare. And that will also have some effect. Because some of these abilities I could see potentially going, if you are dream aligned emotion, you get this effect. If you're Nightmare aligned, you get this effect. So that's where I'm currently sitting. It's going to be interesting. Um, it'll be interesting, I think, getting to see and play about with um, probably. I mean, I wait for someone to pick the very obvious choice of someone going, I'm going to play a dream touched battle channeler. Um, Not quite sure what they would pick as their ancestry, but I could definitely see someone taking the Dream Touch template, Battle Channeler, and just going all hell for leather. Um, all of the dream shenanigans. But yeah, that's the current thought process. That's where we're at. But what we are going to do is I'm going to go to the break screen because we are not going anywhere. I just have to quickly change a few things in the background in order for us to do some FF14. So, where's the thing? There is. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Which one's the Corinthian?